What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of NCAA basketball action here on Saturday, February 15th. We're going to break down a whole bunch of NCAA basketball games for today. We're going to look at bets on the side and over-under, so make sure to check that pinned comment throughout the day to see if we add or take out any plays, before those games starts, as more information and player availability becomes available. Yesterday, guys, looking like an absolute disaster. We might actually go 0-4 in the pinned comment, which is crazy work. Cornell absolutely came out flat as a pancake in their game. They ended up losing straight up in that matchup. Not something that's supposed to be happening there ever. We had the under in that SLU-LUC game, and both teams shot the lights out, guys. We saw nearly 40% from one team, over 50% from the three-point line from the other, and they end up having a total of, I want to say it was 147. So, yeah, pretty unlucky stuff there. Indiana looks like they're going to be losing here against UCLA, although it is coming down to the wire. It's only a 6-point game, so I guess we're still technically live in that one. We might end up with overtime there in the Indiana-Milwaukee game, so I guess there's still a prayer that we go 2-2, but it would be quite the miracle. So, going to be looking for a huge bounce back here on a huge Saturday of college basketball action. If you want to hopefully win all of your bets today, hit that like button. If we get to 1,000 likes on this video, we will be giving away a free Stump the Spread hoodie to someone who comments below. Also, guys, subscribe to the channel. We're getting close to 50,000 subscribers. Once we hit that 50,000 subscriber mark, we're going to be giving away another hoodie then as well. So definitely subscribe so you don't miss out on these videos and to help us get closer to that giveaway. You can now also sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get exclusive early access to all of my videos. They get your names up on screen just like right now. I really appreciate all my members. Really lets me know I have some big time super fans out there that appreciate my work and are going to be riding with me every single day. All of our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering the NBA, college basketball, UFC, and the NHL. We're going to have a ton of college basketball premium picks over there like we do every Saturday. I want to say last Saturday we had 8 premium and 1 free posted over at Stump the Spread, something like that, but that can obviously vary depending on what value we see, but usually there's a whole bunch of games that really jump off the page on a Saturday. Click the link in the description to get over to StumpTheSpread.com and check us out. If you're not sure if you want to sign up for a premium pick just now, that's totally fine, guys. Still sign up for a free account. That'll get you access to our free email list. We send 1 email a day with results on our premium plays from the day before and free picks straight to your inbox. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today, and we'll give you our best advice on all of them. We're committed to responding to every single comment every day. So let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got Arkansas going on the road to take on Texas A&M. Arkansas, guys, comes in this game 15-9 on the season. They're fresh off a big 70-58 win there over LSU. They blew out LSU. A nice win there for Arkansas, a team that's been in the bottom half of the SEC this season, but they've done some positive things. They've played some tough games. They've got some big wins too. Like they played a very close one against number 2 Alabama. They took down Texas. They took down Kentucky. Like they've done some big things this season, but they've also had some tough losses. Like they lost to LSU earlier this season. They weren't able to keep things close against like Florida, and yeah, I don't know. It's been an up and down season for sure. They're a very reasonable defensive team. The rebounding numbers don't necessarily jump off the page. The offensive numbers are good, for sure. They're good. I wouldn't say they're great necessarily, but they are playable. In their game against LSU, they shot 33% from 3, but this Arkansas team, not really a three-point shooting team, guys. Only 12 attempts from deep in that game, but they did shoot nearly 52% from the field, and they had a nice little edge there on the board. So we'll see what they can do here on the road against a really good Texas A&M team that is 19-5 on the season. They're ranked number 8 in the nation. They're fresh off a 4th straight win. They've won, 6 out of their last 7 now. Yeah, this Aggies team, very good. They are a 69-53 win against Georgia their last time out. Very good stuff. They went into Mizzou and beat Mizzou there, 67-54 in the game before that. So a lot of positive things for this team. They've had their issues this season. They've had even some injuries, but that's not a problem right now. We see Wade Taylor, the 4th, playing well. We like what we see from this team on the boards, especially the 8th best rebounding team in the nation. Their defensive numbers are obscenely good as well. Obviously, coming off a game where they only gave up 53 points, looks great. They also dominated the boards in that game, guys, having an 11 rebound edge. That is pretty impressive stuff in college basketball. They didn't even shoot the ball particularly well, and they still won by 16 points. So loving what we're seeing from the Aggies right now. They are 8.5-point favorites in this game. We've got a total of 140.5. Arkansas only 2-4 against the spread on the road. They are 15-9 to the under. Texas A&M 8-3-1 against the spread at home, and they're 16-8 to the under as well. So first up, guys, I definitely like the under in this game. Are my over/under picks cursed? That is a possibility. So if you don't like under 140.5 in this spot, I have another one for you on this game. I really think Texas A&M minus 8.5 although it may end up being a pretty public side, is a pretty good bet. I think we see the Aggies win this game by double digits. It's not really a look-ahead spot for them or anything like that, and right now they're just playing really, really well, and I think they probably come out and dominate this one on both ends of the floor. I guess you could be worried about them having to go to Mississippi State, but I don't think that's that crazy of a game. Like, they've got much bigger matchups on the horizon, like taking on Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. So right now, I think Texas A&M minus 8.5 and the under in this game are very good plays. Next up, guys, we're headed to the ACC. We're looking at the number 23 Clemson Tigers going on the road to take on Florida State. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of back-to-back big wins, guys. No letdown for them after that massive win against number 2 Duke. They took care of business against North Carolina, winning that game by 20 points. A domination there. We've loved what we've seen from Chase Hunter this season in general, and this team has really been excellent, to be honest. I mean, they're coming off of that, very convincing 20-point win. They played great defensively. They crushed North Carolina on the boards. We saw Clemson shoot 48% from the three-point line and 50% from the field in general. Just not a lot of negatives for this team, guys. They are freaking good. So we'll see what Clemson can do in this one, see how they hold up in another, a road game this time. So that is one difference, but this team's been so good defensively and offensively that I have a hard time expecting them to struggle here going on the road to take on a Florida State team that's 15-9 on the season. So honestly, a little bit better than I would have expected them to be, if I'm being honest. We see, they're coming off a 2-point win at Wake Forest. They had a 7-point win over Notre Dame. I'm not about to alert the press about either one of those wins. So, Wake Forest is decent. I'll give you that, but losing against Boston College, losing against Virginia Tech, losing against Stanford, these are not games that should be a big problem if you're actually a good team. Jameer Watkins is a monster, 18.2 points per game. You're not just going to roll out of bed and do that, but this team isn't very good defensively, and their rebounding numbers are a big, big concern, especially in this matchup. So, looking at the numbers here, Florida State's getting 3.5 points at home. We've got a total of 140.5. Clemson, 5-3 against spread on the road, 13-12 to the over. Florida State, 9-3 against spread at home, 14-10 to the under. This is a little bit of a tougher spot, guys. I could see this being a close one, but when you look back, the Seminoles already played Clemson. It was at Clemson, but they lost that game by 20 points. Are they 20 points better at this point in the season, or are, the Clemson Tigers 20 points worse? I don't see it, guys. Give me Clemson here at minus 3.5. I think this is a very good play, despite the fact they're going on the road here. I know college basketball can be a little bit tricky with these road spots, but I think this is definitely one you want to be on the favorite. Next up, guys, we got the Vanderbilt Commodores going on the road to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Vanderbilt comes into this game 17-7 on the year. They've been a really interesting team out there in the SEC this year. They have actually lost 3 out of their last 4, but with those games being against Oklahoma, Florida, Texas, Auburn, and Tennessee, coming up here, that's a little bit rough. They did just get blown out by 12, so not even that much of a blowout against, a number 1 Auburn squad. So we've seen some interesting stuff for sure this season. They did beat Tennessee earlier this year by 1, a thriller there. So we'll see if they can replicate that, guys. Jason Edwards putting up 17.4 points per game, shooting over 45% from the field. Very impressive. This is a great, great offensive team. Don't get me wrong. They're averaging, 80.6 points per game, 41st in the nation, but their rebounding numbers, not great. Their defense, very, very lackadaisical. So I'm not super duper high on this Commodores team right now. I'm not as high as some other people are, but they've done some good things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not about to discount what they've done. They did win against Tennessee in a game where the Volunteers shot way above expectation. The Volunteers shot 47.6% from 3 in that game. So Vanderbilt definitely, feels like they have a chance in this game. We'll see what they can do on the road here, though. Playing at Tennessee, not usually the easiest. The Volunteers are 20-5 on the season. They're coming off of a 11-point loss there against Kentucky. That one's at Kentucky. They can be a little bit sketchy to play on the road, don't get me wrong, but they are now 0-2 this season against Kentucky. That probably doesn't feel great. Chaz Lanier is a monster, 17.4 points per game. Ziegler, also a monster, almost 8 assists per game and 13 points. This team can crash the boards with the best of them, but are they going to, dominate the boards in this matchup? The last time, it was a little bit in favor of Vanderbilt. So looking at the numbers for this game, Tennessee 12.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 139.5. Vanderbilt only 2-4 against spread on the road, 12-12 to the over/under. Tennessee 9-5 against the spread at home, 16-9 to the under. I'm not taking under 193.5, but I will take Vanderbilt here getting 12.5 points. I just don't think they've gotten worse, and I don't think Tennessee's gotten that much better. I think we see, at least a competitive game for most of it, and they can definitely keep this to single digits. I would think Vanderbilt's going to score. They're going to score in this matchup. Tennessee shot the lights out. They're probably not going to shoot 48% from 3 again in this matchup. That's a lot to ask. So even at home, that seems very, very unlikely. So give me Vanderbilt and the points here in a big SEC spot. Next up, guys, we're looking at one of the biggest games in the Big Ten today. We've got number 16 Wisconsin going on the road to take on number 7 Purdue. The Badgers, guys, they've been playing great. They've won 3 in a row, taking down Northwestern, Indiana, and winning at Iowa by 11. So very convincing stuff there. Now they've got a pretty big test going on the road to take on number 7 Purdue. Clearly not going to be easy, but we did like we saw from them against Iowa. They played very good defense against a team that's missing one of their better players, but still we love what we saw. I mean, generally speaking, they did a good job on the boards. They defended well, maybe not elite defense there on the 3-point line, but elite defense everywhere else. They only allowed Iowa to shoot 38% from the field. So good stuff there from Wisconsin for sure. We saw a couple, just good stuff in general. A lot of contributions from different guys, good rebounding as a team, and pretty good ball movement as well. So liking a lot what we're seeing from Wisconsin. I mean, over the course of the year, their numbers are looking very, very nice. 39th in the nation offensively. Defense, good, but maybe not dominant. And the rebounding numbers are fine, but not necessarily something you would write home about. So we'll see if they can put that all together here on the road against an elite opponent in the Purdue Boilermakers, who are 19-6 on the season. They're fresh off of a tough loss, guys. A 2-point loss there at number 20 Michigan. Not a good time there if you are a Purdue Boilermakers fan, guys. I mean, that's a tough loss. That's a tough loss. You've got two monsters out there. They were doing their thing. I mean, Kaufman ran 22 points. We saw Braden Smith put up 24. As a team, Purdue shot 35% from 3. That's not bad, but they got homered in this one. They got homered hard in this game. Purdue shot 8 free throws. The Michigan Wolverines shot 26. Kind of embarrassing. They only made 69% of them, but still, guys, Purdue definitely should have won this game. They had an edge on the boards, and they had their chances despite, getting the shaft there by the refs. So we'll see what they can do in this one over the course of the season. Their numbers are obviously very, very nice. Kaufman ran a monster. Braden Smith, a monster. This is one of the best ball movement teams in the nation. Their scoring numbers, their defensive numbers, both very, very nice. The rebounding isn't great, though, guys, and that is definitely a concern in this matchup. Purdue, they're 5.5-point favorites at home. We've got a total of 149.5. Wisconsin, 6-2 against spread on the road, so not a team that's bothered being on the road. They're 14-10 to the over. Purdue, 8-5 against spread at home, 15-10 to the over as well. So, guys, right here, it seems pretty straightforward to me. I have a hard time figuring out who's going to win this game, but I do think it's going to be close. So I guess give me Wisconsin on the points, but my big lean on this game, and maybe this is a cursed overplay. Maybe you don't want to be taking a stump the spread over because we do seem to be running pretty bad on those right now, but that's got to turn around at some point, right? I think over 149.5 is the play that I'm going to be going with in this game. Is it going in the pinned comment? Probably not, but I do think it's a very, very solid value spot. Hey guys, jumping in here with a quick ad break. This is a great time to sign up for StumpTheSpread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our top confidence plays on all the major sports. We're currently covering NCAA basketball, the NBA, NHL, UFC, and the NFL. We have a team of professional cappers that work extremely hard putting in the research on these games every day so you don't have to. We make things very easy for you with pick notifications directly to your phone and unit sizes assigned to each play so you can see where our confidence level is on every individual matchup. To test out the service before you buy, join our free email list, get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free account. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now, guys, back to the games. Rolling right along here, guys, we've got one of our biggest matchups of the day in general. We've got number 6 Houston going on the road to take on number 13 Arizona. The Houston Cougars, 6th in the nation, like I just said. They're 20-4 on the season, looking like one of the toughest outs in the NCAA. They are coming off a 76-65 win there against Baylor. They took care of business against Colorado. They won 3 in a row after that, devastating 1-point loss there against Texas Tech. Obviously, losing to the, a highly ranked, highly touted team is not a bad look, but man, I'm sure Houston really wishes they had that one back because they definitely had their chances to win that game. But obviously, guys, we've loved what we've seen from the Cougars all season long. Like in their win against Baylor, they did a very good job, winning that game convincingly, despite Baylor having a transcendently good shooting night. Baylor made 9 out of 15 threes, and we saw Houston shoot 40% from the field, 40% from 3, 50% from the field, take care of business there on the boards, and end up winning this game by 11. So very, very good stuff from Houston. Their season-long numbers look exactly like what you would expect. A dominant defensive team, very good on the boards as well, and they can score the rock. So we'll see what they can do on the road against a tough opponent. This Arizona team, they get to play this game at home against Houston. Not like it's a crazy travel spot, obviously, like Houston to Arizona, not too rough. The Wildcats actually come to this game fresh off a very tough road loss. They actually lost 73-70 at Kansas State. So not a great look in that one. We saw Arizona not be able to throw it in the ocean. 2 of 22 from 3. You do that, you're probably going to lose, guys. They shot only 40% from the field. Kansas couldn't shoot the ball from 3 either. So we'll see what kind of bounce back we can expect here from Arizona. I mean, they dominated the boards in that game, and they've done some good stuff defensively over the course of the season, no doubt about that. And their offense, one of the best in the nation, 82.3 points per game, 12th in the nation in rebounding. So they probably feel like they have what it takes to hang with a team like Houston. But, the last time, I mean, they did do well against Iowa State. They're in a bounce back spot for sure. So gotta at least, give them some consideration here. I mean, Arizona only getting 1.5 points at home. Houston is 4-2 against spread on the road. They're 12-11-1 to the over. Arizona 8-4 against spread at home, 14-10 to the over. I would maybe think, even though this is a Houston game, you could take a look at over 137.5. I don't think that's crazy. In terms of a side, this is a very, very rough spot, guys, but I'm going to trust Arizona to do what they usually do, and that's come up small in these big spots. They do have a huge win against Iowa State on the record already, but they got blown out by Texas Tech earlier this season, and they started the year off very, very cold. So we'll see if they've got a bounce back in them, but I think this is probably a spot you want to be on Houston, and maybe even a look at that over. Rolling right along here, guys, we are looking at Virginia going on the road to take on Virginia Tech in an obvious rivalry game here. The Virginia Cavaliers, only 12-12 on the season, but they have won 3 out of their last 4. When those wins are against Miami, Pitt, and Georgia Tech. They're not exactly amazing wins, but they'll take them. The loss in there was to Virginia Tech by 1 point, an absolute heartbreaker of a game here. So we'll see if they can right the ship here playing at home against their rival. In that game, guys, we liked what we saw kind of from both teams. They played better than their normal. We saw a crazy good shooting night from Virginia Tech. They made 52.4% of their threes. You're not going to see that all the time. Pretty even stuff there on the rebounds. The rebounding battle was, almost tied. The 3-point shooting, like I just said, and the free throw numbers, not too lopsided. And they were actually leaning towards the away team, if anything. So we'll see what we get in this one. It's kind of hard to tell which team is going to have the higher motivation. I'm going to think both teams are going to be highly motivated in this game. And looking at the numbers for this Virginia Tech game, Virginia Tech 1.5 point favorites at home. We've got a total of 126.5. UVA, guys, 3-4 against spread on the road, 14-10 to the over. Virginia Tech 5-8 against spread at home, and 13-11 to the under. Guys, we already saw this game play out, and it was a nail biter with the road team coming away with a win. I think we're probably in for another nail biter in this one, but I think we're going to see the home team, we're going to see the road team win once again. That happens all the time in these big rivalry spots. We see, the home team a little bit nervous playing in front of the home fans, the road team super hyped up for this rivalry game. So go ahead and give me the road team, give me Virginia in this one. I think they've got a chance to get the get back in this one. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Samford Bulldogs going on the road in this one to take on Wofford. Samford comes into this game 19-7 on the season, but they're struggling. They've lost 3 out of their last 5. They lost their last 2 in a row, losing at ETSU and then getting beaten 82-68, a beat down there at the hands of Chattanooga. So now they've got to take on a Wofford team that hasn't been a slouch this season. They're 8-5 in conference play, but we've seen Samford take care of business against them already once. They won in this matchup at home, 77-61. So we'll see if they can get a little bit of a bounce back here. I mean, this is still a very highly rated offensive team, putting up 82.8 points per game, but it has looked rough here lately. It's looked very, very rough. No pun intended here. The Bulldogs looking rough, but it has not been good. So we'll see what they can do here. 20th in the nation in offense. Their rebounding numbers, respectable, maybe not elite. That ball movement on offense is great. The defense hasn't looked good the last couple weeks or the last couple games, but maybe they can find a bounce back here as they go on the road. Here in this SoCon showdown against Wofford, the Terriers come into this game fresh off of back-to-back wins, taking down Mercer and the Citadel. But so the Citadel and Mercer, 2 of the bottom 3 teams there in the conference. So not exactly a right home spot. We've seen some good stuff. I mean, in that win at the Citadel, these are back-to-back road wins, so that's nice. You don't get back-to-back road wins all the time. The Terriers didn't shoot the ball particularly well. They did a very good job on the boards, though. That's why they dominated this game. They had a 20 rebound edge out there, and it still took them overtime to win. So that doesn't necessarily make us in love here with Wofford. They, their season-long numbers aren't super impressive. They're good on the boards, don't get me wrong. That's definitely a big positive, but their defensive numbers, pretty pedestrian. Their offensive numbers, while they are decent, not exactly lighting the world on fire, and they don't have a huge big-time leading scorer either. So looking at the numbers, we see Wofford getting 1.5 points at home. We've got a total in this one of 148.5. Samford only 4-8 against spread on the road. That's not great. They're 16-8 to the under, so a big under team. Wofford 3-6 against the spread at home, 14, 11, and 1 to the over. So both teams terrible against the spread in this specific spot, so that doesn't scare us away here. We're going to go ahead and take Samford on the road. I think this is a very good spot here. It's a big get-right spot here for the Bulldogs, who have been struggling, but I really do think this is one of the best couple teams there in the SoCon, and I expect them to show that in this game. Next up, guys, we're looking at the UConn Huskies going on the road here to take on the Seton Hall Pirates out in the Big East. UConn comes in this game fresh off a huge win, a 70-66 win there at Creighton. Some coaching theatrics that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but I mean, talk your talk if you want to do it. I guess go ahead and go for it. 1-1 on the season against Creighton, though, so let's not freak out too much. They're going on the road to take on the Seton Hall Pirates in this one, so should be a little bit of a easy game would be the idea, but they then have Villanova on deck, which has not necessarily been a walk in the park since they lost in that matchup earlier this season. So could be a bit of a look-ahead spot here for UConn in that win at Creighton. We liked what we saw, obviously. McNeely, guys, 38 points. You don't see that every day, guys. 38 points in college basketball. Pretty crazy stuff. He was the only one making any shots out there for UConn. They were only 23.1% from three. He made 5 out of the 6 threes they made in this game. They did a good job on the boards, having a slight edge. They played good defense, don't get me wrong, and going into Creighton and winning, definitely not an easy task. So liked what we saw from UConn in that one, although they haven't necessarily looked like, a crazy easy team to, beat this season. They're, 77th in the nation in points per game. They're a good rebounding team. The ball movement that they have on offense is elite. Solo ball putting up 14.8 points per game looks pretty good, but I don't know, guys. This just isn't a team that I can completely get on board with. Like, they have these really good games, and then they have some big letdowns. So we'll see if they can avoid the letdown here on the road against the Seton Hall Pirates team that's obviously not having a good time out there. I mean, they're fresh off of a tough 60-46 loss at Georgetown. They do get to go back home for this one, so that's something, but they've been having trouble keeping these games attached and staying competitive out there. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough. I mean, Isaiah Coleman putting up 15 points per game, that's fine. But yeah, only 46 total points scored against Georgetown. That's not a good look. They're 420th in the nation in points per game, 360th in rebounding. Like, this just isn't a team that has a whole lot of positives. They do have a kind of a look-ahead spot here. They're going on the road to Marquette after this game. So yeah, a lot of negatives stacking up here for Seton Hall. They are getting 14.5 points in this game. We've got a total of 133.5. UConn, guys, 5-3 against spread on the road, 12, 11, and 1 to the over. Seton Hall only 4-8 against spread at home, 13 and 11 to the under. Guys, this isn't a spot that's going in the pinned comment, but I just cannot justify taking Seton Hall here. If they were plus like 16.5, maybe I would take it. So, like you see, I think there's maybe 2 points of value here on UConn, but yeah, not enough for me to get involved here. This is a look-ahead spot for both teams, and I would be much more worried of UConn taking their foot off the gas than I am of Seton Hall. So yeah, go ahead and give me UConn in this one, I guess, but generally speaking, a stay-away spot for me. Next up, guys, we've got an interesting one out there in the Big 12. We've got the number 12 Texas Tech Red Raiders, 19-5 on the season, going on the road to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Texas Tech coming off of a big, crazy game out there against Arizona State. It took them a couple of overtimes to figure out who was going to come out on top, but the Red Raiders eventually get the 5-point win. Crazy numbers in that game, as you would expect to see in any sort of, double overtime game. JT Toppin putting up 41 points in double overtime, so it definitely takes a little bit of the shine away, but a crazy night. We saw, a big free throw edge there towards Texas Tech, so that doesn't look great either. They shot the ball pretty well from three, not as well as Arizona State did, and they did have an edge there on the board. So I guess in the end, we do like what we saw from Texas Tech, but guys, that's, Arizona State, probably not a team you're supposed to go into double overtime against. So they survive a little bit of a scary spot here, and now they've got, a road game at Oklahoma State. So that could be a little bit scary as well. This is an elite offensive team, guys, 26th in the nation in points per game. Obviously, that 111 skews that number a little bit, but not that much. I mean, this is still a monster offensive team. They're 36th in the nation in assists per game, so that looks good as well. And they play some defense, so got to give this team a lot of credit. They've been a scary out this season in general. So we'll see what they do here on the road against the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who are 12-12 on the season. They're fresh off a devastating 1-point loss there at TCU. They actually just beat Arizona State handily, so maybe they've got some plans here. I mean, they did play Texas Tech at Texas Tech earlier this season. They ended up losing that game by 10, but it was a pretty competitive game. Got to give them credit there. This isn't a team that's got a big-time leading score. They don't put up super gaudy numbers, but their numbers are reasonable. Maybe their defensive numbers aren't great, but we got to give them some credit here. In that loss at Texas Tech earlier this season, we saw, some positives for sure. Bryce Thompson putting up, 17 points? Yeah, we had 3 double-digit scores there for Oklahoma State. They lost by only 10 despite shooting 3 of 13 from 3, and we saw Texas Tech shoot the ball pretty well and have, a free throw edge. and not really the biggest, I mean, actually a rebounding edge there for Oklahoma State. So looking at the numbers for Oklahoma State over the course of the year, none of those really jump off the page, but we do like what we're seeing here. From the odds makers, the Cowboys are getting 8.5 points. We've got a total of 149.5. Texas Tech 4-2 against spread on the road. That's a little bit concerning. They're 14-9-1 to the over. Oklahoma State 4-7 against spread at home, 13-11 themselves to the over. With a total here of around 150, and the last time these two teams played, we only saw a total of 118 points scored. I'm leaning towards the under despite these trends. So definitely give me a look here towards the under. I think it's my favorite play on this game. In terms of a side, I'm definitely going a little bit towards Oklahoma State at plus 8.5, but really, guys, I don't think we're gonna have too much involved on this game either way. I could see problems arising for either team. Texas Tech, they don't have much of a look ahead spot here, so maybe that makes me like Oklahoma State in the points even less. But I think we see a relatively close and relatively low scoring game, and my money is going to be more on the low scoring side of things. Hopping back to the SEC, guys, we're looking at the number 21 Missouri Tigers going on the road to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Mizzou comes into this game fresh off a blowout win there against Oklahoma. We were on Mizzou in that game, so thank you very much, Tigers, for taking care of business there. That snapped a 2-game losing streak, but when your losses were by 4 points at Tennessee and by 3 points against Texas A&M, I'm not exactly going to be too disappointed in you guys. This Mizzou team has not really come out of nowhere, but they've been excellent this season. A very, very good team. One of the top offensive teams in the nation. They're playing way better defense than anybody would have expected. The rebounding numbers are a problem. That'll be something we'll be looking at in this game, but really, we've loved what we've seen from them in general. I mean, they played great there at home against Oklahoma in something of a rivalry game. They only, they're not a team that shoots a ton of threes, but they shot 54.2% from the field. They had a rebounding edge, and they did have a big free throw disparity to help them out as well. So they'll definitely take that, guys. Not feeling too bad about how the Tigers are playing as they go on the road to take on the Bulldogs, who are fresh off a tough loss there at Texas A&M. Losing by 16 points at Texas A&M, while it doesn't look great, is also not terrible. This Georgia team just seems a little bit outclassed. I mean, the last couple of games they won were against LSU and against LSU and against South Carolina. So the bottom two teams out there in the SEC. So that's a bit concerning. Their offensive numbers don't look great, in terms of being an SEC team. The defensive numbers are good. The rebounding is very respectable. So we'll see what they can do. Obviously, this is a spot where they might be a little bit overmatched, but they are playing at home. They're getting 2.5 points. They've got a total here of 145.5. Mizzou 4-2 against spread on the road. 12-12 against the over/under. Georgia 10-5 against spread at home. 17-8 to the under themselves. Guys, you can talk me into under, I suppose, with that big trend there for Georgia, but I really think you want to be on Missouri, minus 2.5 in this game. It's a huge look ahead spot for Georgia. They've got Auburn on deck, and while Missouri, they not exactly a cupcake look ahead spot either. They've got Alabama on deck, so I'm gonna be leaning here a bit towards the Tigers, but maybe a stay away spot for me. I don't love that look ahead spot there for Missouri, but I do think they're by far the better team. So keep this one in mind. It's got a chance to end up in there as one of our final plays. Next up, guys, and far away our biggest game of the day, we've got as high ranking of a matchup as you can have in the regular season or any time of the season in college basketball. We've got number 1 Auburn going on the road to take on number 2 Alabama. The Auburn Tigers 22-2 on the season. They're fresh off of a nice 80-68 win there against Vanderbilt, not falling for the look ahead spot in that one. They played really, really well. They've got arguably the one of the best 2 players in college basketball in Johnny Broome. They're 10th in the nation in points per game. They're 55th in the nation in rebounding. They're a very, very good defensive team, and their ball movement is excellent as well. So really no negatives to find here. I mean, this is an elite level team, an elite level team, and they're winning against Vanderbilt. We loved what we saw just in general. I mean, they definitely played well, shot the ball well. They did give up a rebounding edge, but when you're making all your shots, I don't think you're too worried about that. They did, things were very, very close there in the first half, something to take into consideration, but we'll see if they can, step it up here a little bit. Not a look ahead spot here. They are taking on the best team and, kind of a rivalry game here. Obviously, Auburn against Alabama. The Crimson Tide 21-3 coming into this game. They did lose against Ole Miss, but that has been a while now. They're coming off a blowout win at Texas, a very close win at Arkansas, a comfortable win against Georgia. This team has just been really, really good, guys. Mark Sears, obviously a monster, 18 points per game, 5 assists per game. They are first in the nation, putting up 90.5 points per game. They're third in the nation in rebounding. They're, just a very good team across the board. There are no weaknesses for this team, really, guys. If anything, maybe their defense. So we'll see what goes on. This one going to be a crazy one, guys. I mean, Alabama is coming off an insane shooting day. They shot almost 60% from 3 against Texas. So we'll see if they can fire that up in this one. Alabama, 2.5-point favorites at home. We've got a total of 171.5 out there. A massive total. Auburn, 3-4 against spread on the road, 14-10 to the over. Alabama, 6-5 against spread at home, 12-11-1 to the over. First up, guys, that number's way too big. I'm leaning a bit towards the under. I know that sounds crazy with these two teams, but Alabama's not going to shoot 60% from three in back-to-back games. That's just too crazy. I know they're both going to get up and down the floor. I know we're going to see a lot of offense. We could see this game be 80, to 80, and we're under. So I'm taking the under. In terms of a side, you can flip a coin, honestly. I'd lean a little bit towards the home team, but 2.5 points, I don't know. So pick your own adventure there on the side, but give me under 171.5. Next up, we have a game that is nationally televised because of one guy. We've got Stanford going on the road to take on Duke and Cooper Flagg. Stanford 16-9 on the season. They're coming off a loss, a 60-52 loss at Georgia Tech, so that probably doesn't feel great. They've dropped 3 out of their last 4, so not exactly cruising out there in the ACC. It's been a little bit rough, but they are 8-6, so they've had some success, but it has not been against the best teams. Reynaud is a monster, nearly 20 points per game, shooting 48% from the field. Not bad there, but their rebounding numbers are a big concern, especially in this matchup. Their defensive numbers aren't great either, and they've got to find a way to slow down Duke and Cooper Flagg, a team that will definitely, play some good defense as well. Duke comes into this game 21-3 on the season. They're fresh off of a nice bounce back blowout win there against California after a week showing there at Clemson. So they're definitely in, a bounce back spot. I'm not going to say a revenge spot necessarily, but they are looking, to come away with, another significant win here. No big look ahead spot or anything like that. They do have a big non-conference game looming, but that's a couple games down the pike there where they'll take on Illinois. Cooper Flagg obviously leading this game with 20 points, 4 assists, shooting nearly 50% from the field. They're, top 50 offensive team. Their rebounding numbers also elite. They're a crazy good defensive team, guys, and giving up 60 points per game is a big reason why they are 20.5-point favorites in this one. We've got a total of 140.5. Stanford 3-5 against spread on the road, 13-12 to the under. Duke 8-6 against spread at home, 14-10 to the under. Guys, I'm not taking under 140.5, although I do see why you would want to do that. But I will definitely take Stanford getting all of these points. I don't think Duke earns this massive blowout here. I don't think they'll be fully locked in at home necessarily. I mean, they did just blow out Cal by 21. Are they going to get back-to-back massive blowouts like that? I don't know, guys. I just don't see it. Give me Stanford in the points, but this is not going in the pin comment. Headed back to the Big 12 for our next one, guys. We've got Cincinnati going on the road to take on Iowa State. Cincinnati 15-9 on the season. They're fresh off a third straight win. They just took down Utah 85-75. So wins against UCF, BYU, and Utah. Obviously not the absolute toughest teams out there in the conference, but some good stuff. Definitely some much needed positives for a Cincinnati team that's only 5-8 in conference play. This team really wants to get the job done with defense, and giving up 64.5 points per game, not too much wrong with that. They've had some, some kind of clutch shooting. Jizzle James, great name, by the way. 4 assists per game, 12 points. So not exactly lighting the world on fire, but that's a name you just got to say at least once. I mean, Jizzle James, that's a fantastic basketball player name. We'll see what he's got in store here as he goes on the road to take on the number 10 Iowa State Cyclones, who are 19-5 on the year. They're fresh off wins against TCU and UCF. Both of those were comfortable, at least double-digit wins. And that was a bounce back, guys, after losing at Arizona, against Kansas State, and at Kansas. So, yeah, Iowa State not looking as dominant as they looked early in the season, although Curtis Jones still a monster. Keyshawn Gilbert, a very, very nice, a point guard that's shooting over 50% from the field, almost 5 assists per game. This dude can ball. So we like what we're seeing from Iowa State right now. I mean, their season-long numbers are obviously amazing. A dominant offensive team. They're also one of the best defensive teams in the nation. They can rebound it. The ball movement, maybe not elite, and they lack a little bit of success against the best teams in the nation. So we'll see what they can do here against a Cincinnati team that's been playing some of their best ball of the season. We see Iowa State, guys, they're still 11.5-point favorites in this game. We've got a total of 137.5. Cincinnati, 4-5 against spread on the road, 18-6 to the under. Iowa State, 8-5 against spread at home. They are 14-10 to the under themselves. If you wanted to ride that trend and go with the under, you definitely could. That's a pretty small number, though, so I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be taking Iowa State here at minus 11.5. We could see a close game. Cincinnati's been playing much better, but Iowa State, guys, they have a lot to prove right now. No look-ahead spot for them with Colorado on deck, and not a real look-ahead spot here for Cincinnati either. They've got to go to West Virginia their next time out, but still, guys, give me Iowa State. I think they win this one walking away. Next on the dock, we're looking at number 22 Mississippi State going on the road to take on number 19 Ole Miss. It's a pretty big rivalry game here, guys. Mississippi State comes into this game 17-7 on the year. They've actually dropped 3 out of their last 4. They got obliterated at home in front of the home fans by Florida their last time out, losing 81-68. So a pretty tough look there. I mean, Josh Hubbard is a monster. This team has been very good over the course of the season. Good on offense, good on the boards. Not a great defensive team, though, so that's something of a concern in this matchup. I mean, going up against the Ole Miss team that they did beat earlier in the season, but it was only by 3 points. The Rebels come into this game 19-6 on the year. They're playing this one at home. They've won 3 in a row. It was a nail-biter last week, though, guys. Clearly fallen into the look-ahead spot trap. They did win 72-68 against South Carolina, but it was a close one. They also won by only 2 points against LSU, so this team having a little bit of a fall-off ever since taking down number 14 Kentucky. So we'll see if they've got a bounce back in them here. Going to have to bounce back pretty hard, though. I mean, this is a good offensive team, but not elite. They're a weak rebounding team for sure, and their defensive numbers, while they're good, I would not say they're fantastic. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, Ole Miss 4.5-point favorites at home. We've got a total of 146.5. Mississippi State 4-3 against spread on the road, 13-11 to the over. Ole Miss, guys, 5-7-1 against spread at home, 14-11 to the under. I'm definitely taking number 22 Mississippi State, getting 4.5 points in this game. This is a for sure pinned comment play. It might be a premium pick over at Stump the Spread. These rivalry games, guys, teams tend to lose on their home floor, and I think we could definitely see Ole Miss lose this one straight up. So if you wanted to take Mississippi State on the money line, that would also be all right with me. Next up, guys, looking at North Carolina going on the road to take on Syracuse out there in the ACC. North Carolina not looking great this season. They've lost 3 out of their last 4. They got destroyed by Duke. Now they're playing at Syracuse, so we'll see what they can do in this one. Obviously, it should be a winnable game, but North Carolina 7-6 in conference play and not the toughest conference. Honestly, when you watch them play, they just look so small out there. I mean, RJ Davis, cool, 17.4 points per game, but I don't know, guys. 40% from the field, that doesn't exactly fill me with optimism. In their loss against Clemson, I mean, they lost 85-65. They got blown out by 20 points. Now they're in a back-to-back road spot. Like, they just could not stop anything Clemson wanted to do. The Tigers shot almost 50% from 3 against them in that game, and North Carolina shot only 21.1%. So if you can't tell from my tone right now, the Tar Heels, not a team that I'm super high on, and that doesn't have anything to do with Duke Blue Devil bias. I'm not a big Duke fan. I just like to wear this hat. So we'll see what the Tar Heels can do on the road here against Syracuse. They come into this game 11-14 on the year. The Orange Men not having a great time, 5-9 on the season in conference play. They're fresh off a 13-point loss there at Miami, so that has to sting a little bit. They do get to go back home where they have had some success lately. They beat Boston College at home. They kept things very close against Pitt. They did beat Notre Dame at home earlier this season, so they've done some good things in their home arena. This is not a team with a ton of talent, although they are good on the boards. They're not a very good defensive team, and their offensive numbers do suffer as well. So it's not a big surprise to see them getting points here at home, but they're only getting 6.5. We've got a total of 154.5. North Carolina 2-6-1 against spread on the road, 13-12 to the under. Syracuse 6-7-1 against spread at home, 13-11 to the under as well. I'm not going to take under 154.5, guys. If you're forcing me for an over-under play, I'll take the over, but I think this is a great spot to take Syracuse at plus 6.5. Is this going in the pinned comment? I don't really trust either one of these teams enough to put it in the pinned comment, but I do think this play is very, very live. Last but not least here, guys, we're looking at the number 15 Kentucky Wildcats going on the road to take on the Texas Longhorns. Kentucky comes into this game fresh off a huge statement win there against number 5 Tennessee, getting the 75-64 win to complete the regular season sweep there of the Volunteers. Very, very good stuff from Kentucky in that win. They played defense, which is not something you see from Kentucky or not something you saw from them early in the year, but they shot 50% from 3, only allowed the Volunteers to shoot 16% from 3. That is crazy, crazy work there. They won this game by 11 despite having a free throw disadvantage. They got kind of crushed on the boards too. Just a very, very good night out there. We saw three starters and 1 guy off the bench scoring double figures. That was enough for them to have a very, very good night. So liking what we're seeing from Kentucky. They come into this game, obviously, one of the best offensive teams in the nation. Not a good defensive team, a very good rebounding team, but a lot of that's due to pace. So we'll see what they can get done in this one. Not going to be a cupcake matchup here as they go on the road to take on the Texas Longhorns, who've actually dropped 3 in a row, losing 103-80 last time out against Alabama. That probably doesn't feel great. They haven't had a great time in general this season. I mean, in the SEC, guys, they're sitting, 4th from the bottom, 4-8 in conference play. So yeah, against Alabama, obviously nothing good going on. They do have a monster in Trey Johnson, but their defensive numbers not really good enough to make up for the fact they're a terrible, terrible rebounding team. So looking at the numbers for this one, I'm kind of shocked to see the Longhorns as 3.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 159.5. Kentucky only 2-4 against around the road, 13-11 to the over. Texas 8-6-1 against spread at home, 13-10-2 to the over as well. With a total here of 159.5, we have to get to 160 to cash that. So I don't think it's the best play, but I wouldn't, fault anyone who wanted to go for the over. I just cannot keep myself from going with Kentucky here, getting 3.5 points. It's probably dumb. They're on the road here. It's not a look-ahead spot, but this just feels like a spot where the odds makers are telling us what to do. The bookmakers are telling us just go ahead and take Texas minus 3.5. Like, this line doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Maybe it doesn't make sense because I'm on the wrong side. But give me Kentucky getting 3.5, but I'm scared off. I'm too scared to put this one in the pinned comment. So if you're braver than me, let me know down in the comments. Go ahead and take it, and maybe you will end up cashing where I'm going to miss out on some value. But that's all the games we have for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you, being here, being in the comments. Hit that like button for good luck. If we can get to 1,000 likes on this video, I will give away a free Stump the Spread hoodie. As soon as we get to 50,000 subscribers, which we're getting very, very close, I'll give away a free hoodie then as well. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on this slate. Thanks for watching. Definitely get over to stumpthespread.com. We'll have a ton of premium college basketball picks over there for this Saturday slate. We will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.